chapter 36. Chapter 35 ended where we met Marcus. We said, hello, Marcus. And if you remember, Marcus was actually one of Salim's friends from when he was at school in Manchester. So we'll see how that pans out. Chapter 36 is called Weather Detection. I suppose you want to know how I worked it out. Or maybe your brain works on a different operating system from other people's, like mine. And you've worked it out too. I'd done nothing but think from 2 minutes past noon on the day Salim disappeared, Monday, to when I'd phoned the police at 18:04, Wednesday. That's 54 hours and 2 minutes of thinking, if you count sleeping time, which I do. You go on thinking in your sleep. I'd gone over the 9 theories again and again. We discounted theories 1, 2 and 8 by checking them out. Salim couldn't have stayed on the pod for another ride, nor had my watch gone wrong, nor could he have hidden under somebody's clothes without our noticing. Kat had convinced me that theory 9, that Salim had never got on the pod in the first place, was wrong. Theories 5 and 7, spontaneous combustion and the time warp, Kat had dismissed out of hand. I hadn't. But there was another reason I'd finally agreed to cross them off. 1, I hadn't told Kat. I counted the number of people who got on the pod, 21. And I counted the number of people who'd got off, 21. I realised that if Salim had spontaneously combusted or slipped into a time warp, only 20 people would have got off. That left theories 3, 4 and 6. 3 and 4 both depended on us having somehow missed Salim when he got out. I told the police that it was only about a 2% chance of our having missed him, which meant there was a 98% chance that Salim had emerged from the pod in disguise. At first we'd thought this theory unlikely, but the more I considered it over the 54 hours and 2 minutes, the more possible it seemed. When we went up in the London Eye with Dad the next day, I'd noticed the time when you could put a disguise on without anybody noticing. It's when everyone turns to have their souvenir photo shot taken. Everyone faces one way for almost a full minute until the flash goes off. So I'd given the souvenir shot of Salim's pod, and that Kat bought another look. I kept coming back to the pink sleeve, the one that we thought was the girl in the pink fluffy jacket at the back of the picture, waving at the camera. I didn't know when I first realised. Maybe it was the 18 pictures that Kat took of our washing line, that when she was using up Salim's film, with the sleeves of sweatshirts, jumpers and blouses waving in the wind. Or maybe it was the way I'd seen Kat struggle into her fur-coloured coat that morning. The morning she'd rushed out to get the photos of the strange man enlarged. The sleeve in the souvenir shot was not someone waving, it was somebody changing. A pink sleeve, waving or drowning, waving or changing. It depended on how you looked at it. The girl in the pink fluffy jacket was Salim's accomplice. They'd swapped identities in the pod, a wig, a jacket, sunglasses. That was all it needed. And I remembered Aunt Gloria saying how Salim was a practical joker. Not a theoretical joker like me, but a practical one, which means he actually carries out his jokes. Maybe this was a practical joke, but on a bigger scale. For a brief period I wondered if Salim had a girlfriend whom nobody had mentioned. Maybe a girlfriend even Aunt Gloria didn't know about. A factor X in the equation. The thing that had deflected Salim off his course. Then, in the 54 hours and 2 minutes of thinking time, another possibility occurred to me. Marcus, the mosher, the boy in The Tempest. Salim said he had a mate, and that he had called him from Manchester while we were crossing the Jubilee footbridge on the way to the Eye. Later we'd heard from the police that everyone questioned in Manchester, including Marcus, had said they'd not heard from Salim since he'd left. It was an inconsistency. Someone was lying. Marcus, maybe. The police reported on Salim's friend's alibis the day he disappeared, Marcus's mum had said he was on a day out with the Scouts. So I thought maybe Marcus was out with the Scouts the way Kat and I had gone swimming, or the way Kat was supposed to be at school the day when she'd really gone uptown to have her hair flare consultation. I didn't know much about Marcus, only that he and Salim were friends. They were both half Asian, at an all-boys school. They were moshers, which means casual, cool dudes. That they'd starred in The Tempest at school. Salim had played Ferdinand. Somebody must have played the only female role, Miranda, who Kat told me was a dish rag. Maybe it was Marcus. Maybe that's how they had the idea. Marcus, very likely. When the girl had got off the motorbike at the scooter show when the girl had got off the motorbike at the scooter show freestyle jumps, everybody had assumed she was a man until she'd taken off her helmet and loosened her long hair. Maybe Kat and I had done the reverse, assumed the person in the pink fluffy jacket was a woman just because she had long hair. Male or female, it depended on how you looked at it. Marcus, almost certainly. Of the 21 people leaving the pod, there had been no extra woman, no female who could have emerged from under the wig and sunglasses disguise. But there had been a lad. The lad we'd taken for the girl in the pink fluffy jacket's boyfriend. The lad, the boy, with chubby, brownish cheeks. Marcus, definitely. That's when I remembered Salim shaving off his moustache. If he was to become the girl in the pink fluffy jacket, he needed to be clean shaven, as did Marcus. Everything pointed to Marcus. Then the final jigsaw piece fell into place. What the woman security guard said as we left Earl's Court. I didn't slot it into the rest of the pattern until the 87th kick of the garden shed. Kat had asked where the strange man called Christie had gone. She'd replied he'd gone home with a stomach bug. A bug, she didn't believe him. With him it's always the same, sick this, dentist that, dead uncle the other, never rains but it pours, just like his name. Detective Inspector Pierce had mentioned Marcus's surname to us only once, but once was enough. It's enough for me at least, because I am going to be a meteorologist when I grow up. The name Flood had struck me as interesting all along. The strange man had lied to us in Earl's Court, and lied to us again in Mile End. Both times he'd known more than he said. He and Marcus were related. They were both called Flood. For some reason he had helped Marcus and Salim carry out their practical joke. Maybe because that's all he thought it was. But it wasn't just a practical joke. It was also part of a bigger plan. A plan for Salim to run away. Because I think everybody knew by then. Salim hadn't been abducted. He hadn't vanished. He'd vanished by his own choice. He'd never wanted to go to New York. A clue to this had been the guidebook in his backpack. There were no creases on the spine, which meant Salim had never opened it, which meant New York didn't excite him. But the London Eye did, and vanishing while riding it was the best and most exciting way of running away he could think of. A weather detective is somebody who uses observations and measurements to make theories, and if the theories are right, they will correctly predict weather patterns. Finding out what happened to Salim and where he was likely to be was exactly that. I made observations and constructed theories, and then found out more facts with Kat's help. And when the facts and the theories fitted, I thought we'd be able to track Salim down, just like you would track a storm system and predict where it will make landfall. Only something had gone wrong. Salim hadn't appeared at the end of the trail. It was only Marcus. And Marcus stood in the kitchen, staring at the floor. And when everybody started talking at once to him, he started crying. His head was down, but you could hear him, and you can see his shoulders moving. And I got a very bad feeling in my esophagus again. That's the end of the chapter. See you tomorrow.